if you want to be heard, you have to speak. That's number one.
Yep.
Number two, you have to be better. You really do. I can't go in the room with 5 dudes and be the same. I have to literally go in and crush it. Like, I have to be better than every single dude in that room so we can be equal.
E-Mark and A-Mark is on.
What?
E-Mark and A-Mark is on.
Who?
Tell your friends, tell your dog, tell your mom.
Tell what?
E-Mark and A-Mark is on.
Oh, hey mom. E-Mark and A-Mark is on.
And we are back with another episode of E-Mark and A-Mark. We're here at the Digital Agency Expo in the Sheraton Hotel in our lovely hotel room. We are here with Goldie Chen. Is that correct? I say that right? Goldie Chen.
Yep.
She is one of the keynote speakers here today. And fun fact about Goldie, she is the top video creator on Google. The top in the
On
world.
LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn.
But
LinkedIn.
close. It would be interesting to be the top video creator on Google.
And she also frequently writes for Forbes on storytelling. So we're going to get into it, ask some questions, and learn a little bit more about Goldie. So, E-Mark, I'll let you kick it off.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we kind of jump into the nitty gritty of what you do, kind of build your story. Just how did you even get into entrepreneurship? I don't know if your parents were, if they were more into corporate America, if you have any brothers and sisters that are in the business realm and you decided, I want to be like them. And
So no and no. And the best part is I grew up in Silicon Valley. So I grew up in a universe of entrepreneurs, even if people directly around me weren't entrepreneurs. And I worked in digital marketing in-house for over a decade. And then about 2 years ago, I got into the LinkedIn video beta. And then I thought, and I was in my what I call my sabbatical, which is a great way of saying you're not employed.
Yeah.
You're totally unemployed, but it sounds really fancy. So I was in my 1 month sabbatical. I was 2 weeks into my 1 month sabbatical, aka a month off before looking for a real job. And I get into LinkedIn Video Beta and I think this is a great place to make videos that no one will ever see.
Yeah. Very good. And now, Goldie, do you want to tell people what this LinkedIn video beta was?
Sure. So it was a closed beta for creating videos on LinkedIn. So it was just a new product launch by LinkedIn where they were letting in, I think at the time that I got in, there were maybe 10, I like to call them civilian people who are let in. So they were people who were not big brands or famous celebrities. It was just regular people who got in and they just wanted to see what we would do with it. And I started creating daily videos from there, and then it got interesting.
Yeah.
And around what time was this?
So this was around August of 2017.
Oh, so relatively recently. This wasn't way back.
No.
Yeah. And now you've seen some great success in all the things you're doing. And I think a lot of times people see entrepreneurs as, oh my gosh, they're very successful. There's no way I could do that. But the truth is, it doesn't happen overnight, right?
Yeah. And I always think, especially being an entrepreneur, it was built on the back of a decade of work prior. Like I did a decade of in-house work to have success overnight, but actually not even overnight. 2 years later, I am a success. So that's like a decade. That's 12 years of putting in the work to be where I am today, where I get to work with brands like Adobe. I was the global ambassador for WeWork. I was ambassador for the UK to the US for the Mayor of London's office.
Oh my goodness.
I get to do all of these amazing things because I put in the work over 2 years, but also because I had literally, once again, like a decade of experience putting in the work beforehand.
Now, Goldie, like, touch on an emotional level. How did that feel when you landed those clients, or when you were the ambassador positions that you were in? I mean, how did that feel? I mean, because you've done all this work. I mean, did you ever thought you'd be in a position to where these opportunities would just find you then? How did that just make you feel?
It was, I think it still is so exciting and sometimes overwhelming. And I'm so grateful and thankful that I am in a place to get these opportunities. But it is just bananas. Let's be honest. It is. I would have never thought I would be an ambassador for the US to the UK.
Yeah.
That sounds like something I made up. I didn't. and like the global ambassador for WeWork. How cool is that? And that was something completely, they reached out of the blue to me and asked me if I want to do it. And currently I am one of 60 ambassadors for Adobe globally as a company. And that is also to me such a big, huge deal because I love the brand. I've been a fan of the brand since forever. And so much of this success, these partnerships, the brand clients that I can now command is really amazing. But I also think what keeps me on the level is being appreciative of everything that comes my way, never assuming ever that I will get something, but hoping that I will get something or putting it out in the universe and then starting to have conversations and moving towards it. I think everything is about moving towards it until you get it. Or if you don't get it, then it wasn't meant for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Goldie, I had kind of asked you before. I hadn't even met you. I just came into a conversation that you were having with two other gentlemen, and the number one thing I noticed about you is you're very outgoing. You're very personable. Even right now, you're sitting down, just your eyes are smiling, and then here comes a smile right now. You're just a very high energy person. Is that intentional, or have you had to work for that? And how much is that factor and play into your entrepreneurship and your success?
So several years ago, I was, and I still can be, very painfully shy. So I actually am an introvert. And shyness, I think, is like a subset of introvertedness. And I remember I used to not be able to make eye contact with strangers. Like just if you met me, I would just be looking down and looking away because it would be terrifying to even make eye contact with someone else. And I gave myself this piece of homework, which actually this is what I assign to teenagers when I speak to teenagers, which is, except I did it for much longer, but I talked to a stranger every single day for a year. So there was 1 year of my life where every single day, and it wasn't anything amazing, I literally would look at a person and be like, I like your shirt, and then I would walk away. So I wouldn't even wait. And you know that awkward person that says something and then they walk away from you, you're like, who is that person? Oh, what a creep. I was that creep. I was totally that creep. And that's how I overcame my shyness, because every single day, and then gradually it got more and more comfortable to like look someone in the eye and say that and then creepily walk away. And then eventually I could actually like wait for their response, which was like, okay, you know, or cool. Yeah. And then maybe even have a conversation. So I forced myself to break out of my own shell. And it took me a year to do it. And what I assign to teenagers who are really, really shy is I tell them to do this for 2 months straight. And because even just doing it for 2 months, you have to think about, that's 60 days of talking to a stranger. That's a lot of days. And I find this to usually like the shyest, most reserved teens that I meet, because I'm like, this is a great, it's no stranger danger, but this is a great to like talk to other teens, right? Don't talk to creepers. But this is like a great time for you to get more used to talking to strangers, which is super helpful when you become an adult. Yeah. Because if you're comfortable around strangers, guess what? When you interview for a job, you're going to be so great. When you try to find clients, those are also strangers usually. You're going to be so great on that cold call or in that first meeting because you just feel comfortable talking to a stranger. You can talk to them like they're already your friend, and that's such a powerful skill to have.
Absolutely. And Goldie, I think you know what really inspires me about you is not only are you so personable and you're so outgoing and you're successful, but you know, just putting it out there, you're also a woman. Right, and a woman of color at that too. So I really kind of want to dive into that a little bit here. Just kind of fill us in, like, you know, it may be a controversial issue, right? You know, women in the entrepreneurship world, you know, there's not many. Yeah. And then there's not many, and then there's really not many who are successful, right? Right. How have you been able to overcome all of that, really. I mean, there's always like this burden, I suppose, this kind of load on your shoulder. You
Right.
know, perhaps you feel like you need to do more than the average guy and to prove yourself, and you've done it. Like, what's been attributed to your success being a woman?
So I actually recently gave a talk to a bunch of women leaders and aspiring women leaders in Boston. And these were all women of color too, so it's even tougher for them. And they said, how do I get heard? And a lot of them are really shy. And I say, first of all, it's two things. One, if you want to be heard, you have to speak. That's number one.
Yep.
Number two, you have to be better. You really do. I can't go in the room with 5 dudes and be the same. I have to literally go in and crush it. Like, I have to be better than every single dude in that room so we can be equals.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that it sucks, but as a woman, and especially like a woman of color representing in a space that has so few people who look like me, I have to be so much better. And I think what is so magical and amazing about my journey right now on LinkedIn is no one calls me the top Asian creator on the platform. No one calls me the top female creator on the platform.
Right.
I am just undisputably the top video creator on the platform. And to be called that without having those other things tied to it
Yep.
is so unbelievably magical, because it means I absolutely dominate the platform, and I believe in like platform domination, and I believe in just being the best if that's what you want, and it should be irrelevant of your race or if you're a man or a woman. Just be better. And when I meet men especially who get really competitive with me, and I've met a lot of men who are really angry that I'm a female and I'm number one on the platform, I take it really neutrally and I just say, be better than me then. It's so simple, right? Be better than me, because I already have all these handicaps and I'm doing better than you. So you have actually less to go
Right.
to be better than me. So just do it.
Right,
I'm like,
'cause
yo, bro,
success-
come on. Like,
Yeah, success doesn't care whether you're a man or woman, right?
Right.
Yeah, just get it done. And if you're more equipped, beat me to it, right?
beat me to it. And I feel like, yeah, if you really want to beat me, then just beat me. It's, to me, it's so simple. Like, just be better than me. If you don't want me to be number one, then you be number one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Want to touch a little bit more tactically on the LinkedIn side
Sure.
of things. I know for our business, we've seen some dramatic results as we've started posting more on LinkedIn, even more so than Facebook. But when we talk to a lot of people, they still look at LinkedIn as it's just that place to connect to people. It's a place where I look up that person I'm meeting in the coffee shop's photo. How have you really seen LinkedIn transform into a content consumption tool? What advice do you have for people looking to utilize it?
So I think that with the advent of now video, and prior to that, articles, there's so many more ways just to create content on LinkedIn that are really new. These are all in the last, I want to say, 5 years that LinkedIn has introduced this to the platform, and everything on LinkedIn is very slow. Bless. Bless. But, you know, as these things are slowly getting more adoption across the board, you're going to see more and more people creating content. So it won't just be a resume dump. Right? It won't just be the place you are looking up somebody that you're meeting. It will be a place where you can see content. And I believe that the content right now, it adds to your resume. It adds to your profile. That's why it makes me incredibly nervous when I see people do really wild content that is very off-brand and could get them fired. It could get them sued. All that kind of content, I get why it's on YouTube. I get why it's on Instagram. But on LinkedIn, they have to understand it's still where you're probably connected to a lot of your current employers, your previous employers, your potential employers, like, or if you're an entrepreneur, your clients, right? Your potential clients. And you want to be very, very careful about what you put out there. So it just adds to how great you are, as opposed to gets you sued for libel.
So you really need to filter what you're putting out there. Just because you would put something on Facebook as content doesn't mean you should just post that same thing to LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
And then what would you say, is LinkedIn really just for business to business brands to post video content on there? Or can consumer based companies also use it?
So part of my talk that I gave today was really thinking about B2B versus B2C with LinkedIn video. And with B2B, it really works well for brand awareness. So just getting people aware that that brand exists at all. And with B2C, it really helps to do video content or written content around a specific product launch. So having a targeted time and a targeted CTA. Very specific, but see, these two things are different. So with, once again, B2B, it's just generally being aware that that B2B business exists, like, hey, other B2B businesses, find me. And with B2C, it's like, okay, we are launching X. Great, we're gonna do like a content blitz from this time to this time, and then we're gonna add a CTA of like, oh, check it on our website or whatever that is, right? Purchase it now, buy my book. All those things are B2C. And so it's just a little bit of two different universes for B2B versus B2C. And I've seen people try to nudge B2B content over towards a direct sale, which is not how B2B works. I mean, there's a reason why LinkedIn is the optimized platform for B2B. It's because, once again, LinkedIn is so slow. Like everything on LinkedIn is slow. And B2B is slow. And B2C is a lot faster.
Right.
B2C just naturally is faster because it's consumers and humans are fickle. And B2B is like a company. And so it's less about the humans being fickle, more about big decisions with bigger budgets.
Right. Right. Now that's great information, I think, really for our listeners to think about, whether they're in B2B or B2C, what type of content are they putting out there? What's their call to actions? Really important to think about that strategy. Well, we are at time. I'm Goldie, but really appreciate you coming in, telling us a little bit about your story, giving our listeners some advice on LinkedIn. But before we go, tell us a little bit more about where we can find you. If we want to connect with you online, our listeners, tell them a little bit more.
Sure. If you want to find my Twitter rants, I'm at Goldie Chan. If you would like to find me on LinkedIn, of course, I'm linkedin.com/in/Goldie. And then on Instagram, you can find me at Goldie Cylon, Cylon, because I'm a huge Battlestar Galactica nerd. And then you can always go to my beautiful website, goldiechan.com.